Hong Kong, 1967. A Tuesday afternoon, thick with the kind of humidity that made shirts cling and tempers flare. The Golden Lotus Cafe sat on Nathan Road in Kowloon. White tablecloths, European menu, prices that said exclusive in every language. The kind of place where waiters wore bow ties and judgment came with the appetizers. Bruce Lee walked through that door at 2:47 p.m., and the air itself seemed to sharpen. 26 years old. 5 feet 7 inches of coiled purpose, 135 pounds that move like water finding its level. Smooth. Inevitable. Impossible to contain. He wore a simple white button-down, sleeves rolled to his forearms, black slacks, leather shoes polished to a military shine. His hair was cut short, practical, framing a face that cameras loved, but strangers often underestimated. Behind him, holding his hand, Linda Lee walked with the careful grace of someone who'd learned to navigate spaces that didn't always want her there. She was 22, auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail, a yellow sundress that stood out against the cafe's muted elegance, blue eyes that sparkled when Bruce looked at her, which was often. Her presence beside him, a white American woman married to a Chinese man, turned heads in 1960s Hong Kong the way lightning turns heads in a clear sky. The cafe hummed with the quiet sounds of privilege, crystal touching crystal, murmured conversations in English, Cantonese, Portuguese, the soft scrape of silver against porcelain. Ceiling fans turned lazy circles overhead, pushing warm air from one corner to another without cooling anything. The scent of coffee mingled with expensive perfume and a faint undertone of cigarette smoke, curling from ashtrays shaped like lotus flowers. Bruce had chosen this place deliberately. Linda's birthday was in 3 days, and he wanted to take her somewhere special, somewhere that announced to the world what she meant to him, that she deserved elegance, respect, the kind of treatment that shouldn't require thought but often did. They'd been married 8 months. 8 months of building a life between two worlds, two cultures, two sets of expectations that didn't always align. Bruce taught martial arts in Oakland and Seattle, working 18-hour days to establish his reputation, to prove that Kung Fu wasn't mystical nonsense but refined science. Linda studied, supported, believed when others doubted. Together they were forging something new, a partnership that challenged every assumption about how the world should be arranged. At the hostess stand, a young woman in a crisp uniform smiled professionally. Her eyes took in Bruce's first recognition, flickering there, uncertain. Then Linda. The smile held, but something behind it shifted, something subtle, something Bruce noticed because he'd spent his life noticing the things people didn't say aloud. "Table for two, please," Bruce said. His English carried traces of Hong Kong, Seattle, Oakland, a linguistic map of his journey. His voice was calm, warm, the tone of someone who assumed goodwill because he chose to, not because experience had earned that assumption. "Of course, sir. Right this way." She led them to a table near the kitchen entrance. Not near the windows where natural light painted everything golden. Not in the center, where other diners could admire the young couple's chemistry. Near the kitchen, where the swinging door brought blasts of heat and the clatter of pots and the barked orders of unseen cooks. Linda noticed. Bruce saw her notice, saw the slight tightening around her eyes, the way her smile became something she wore instead of something she felt. He squeezed her hand. "Not now. Don't let it matter. We're together." They sat. The table wobbled slightly, uneven leg on uneven floor. The chairs were wood instead of the cushioned comfort visible 20 feet away. The place setting was complete, nothing missing, everything technically correct. "Technically, your server will be with you momentarily," the hostess said, already turning away. Bruce opened his menu, studied it with the same focus he brought to studying an opponent's stance, their weight distribution, the subtle tells that preceded every movement beside him. Linda pretended to read her menu while her shoulders carried tension she shouldn't have to carry. Not today. Not on a day that was supposed to be about celebration. Around them, the cafe continued its performance of civilization. A British couple 3 tables away laughed at something. High, bright sounds that suggested champagne before noon. 2 Chinese businessmen in expensive suits discussed shipping routes and profit margins, their Cantonese rapid-fire and confident. Near the window, a Portuguese family, grandmother, parents, 3 children, shared a large meal. The grandmother's face soft with contentment as she watched her grandchildren steal bites from each other's plates. None of them sat near the kitchen door. Bruce set down his menu, looked at Linda, really looked, the way he did when they were alone and the world's expectations couldn't reach them. Her eyes met his and he saw it there. The weariness, not from the day, from the accumulation, all the times a hostess had made a mistake with their reservation, All the sideways glances on the street, all the relatives who'd voiced concern, disapproval, disbelief that these two people could possibly build something lasting. We can go somewhere else, he said quietly. Not a question, an offer, an exit. Linda shook her head. No, we have every right to be here. And they did. That was the thing. They had money, they had manners, they had every qualification the world claimed to require for entry into spaces like this. What they didn't have, what they would never have, was the right combination of appearances that made people comfortable. 5 minutes passed. The table remained unattended. Bruce watched a server, young man, maybe 19, nervous energy, deliver water to the British couple who'd arrived after them. Watched another server bring menus to a table that had been empty when they walked in. The mathematics of it was precise, deliberate. A pattern as clear as a punch, telegraphed 3 seconds before impact. Linda's fingers drummed against the table, once, twice, then stopped. She was trying to be calm, to not let it show, to be the composed partner Bruce deserved. But her jaw was tight, her breathing shallow. Bruce felt something building in his chest. Not anger, not yet, something colder, more focused. The feeling he got when a student deliberately ignored instruction, testing to see if the teacher would notice, would care, would act. Another 3 minutes. By now every table around them had been served, water glasses filled, bread baskets delivered. The British couple was already eating appetizers. The businessmen were on their second pot of tea. Bruce and Linda sat before empty placemats, ghosts at their own table. That's when the manager emerged from the back. He was a man in his 40s, a Portuguese heritage written in his features. Olive skin, dark hair graying at the temples, a mustache manicured with the same care he clearly applied to his cafe's reputation. His suit was charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, suggesting authority and taste. He carried himself with the particular confidence of someone who owned space, who decided who belonged and who didn't. He walked through the dining room with the purposeful stride of inspection, eyes scanning tables, noting details. His gaze passed over Bruce and Linda's table without pausing, without recognition, as if they were furniture he'd already cataloged and dismissed. Then he stopped at the British couple's table. "How was everything this afternoon?" His voice carried, intentionally, Bruce suspected, warm, solicitous, the vocal equivalent of the cafe's white tablecloths. "Wonderful, thank you," the British woman replied. "The prawns are exceptional." "Ah, excellent. Chef just received them this morning. Absolutely fresh." The manager smiled broadly, hands clasped behind his back, pride radiating from every pore. "If you need anything at all, please let me know personally. We want to ensure your experience is perfect." He moved on, stopped at the Portuguese family's table, asked after the grandmother's health. Apparently she was a regular, complimented the children's manners, recommended the custard tarts for dessert with the enthusiasm of someone sharing a state secret. 3 more tables, 3 more stops, 3 more demonstrations of attentive hospitality. He never approached Bruce and Linda, but then he noticed Linda watching him. Noticed Bruce's stillness, the quality of attention that anyone with survival instincts would recognize as dangerous. The manager's path curved, bringing him inevitably to their table, not out of courtesy, out of calculation, the need to address something before it became something. He stopped 3 feet away, didn't come closer. His smile was different now, thinner, professional in the way that meant the absence of feeling rather than its presence. "Is there a problem?" Not "how can I help you?" Not "welcome to the Golden Lotus." "Is there a problem?" 4 words that placed responsibility, blame, and burden on their side of the equation. Bruce looked up slowly, held the manager's eyes with the unflinching directness he'd learned from his Sifu IP man, who'd taught him that awareness was the first form of combat. Know what you're facing before you decide how to face it. "We've been waiting 18 minutes, Bruce said. His voice remained calm, but something underneath, something compressed and ready, changed the temperature around their table. "Every table seated after us has been served. We haven't received water. We haven't received service. We would like to order, please." The manager's expression didn't change. Didn't have to. His eyes did the work. A quick flick toward Linda, back to Bruce, dismissal flavored with distaste. "Our staff is very busy this afternoon, as you can see." He gestured vaguely toward the dining room, as if the evidence of service everywhere except their table proved his point. "Someone will attend to you when they're available." Linda's hand tightened on the table edge. "We've been patient," she said, and Bruce heard the controlled anger there, the dignity she was fighting to maintain. "We're simply asking for the same service you're providing everyone else." The manager's smile vanished entirely. "Perhaps," he said, each word precisely articulated, You would be more comfortable at an establishment better suited to your situation. Silence dropped over their table like a weighted net. In the background, the cafe continued, conversations, laughter, the clink of silverware. But at their table, in their immediate sphere, everything stopped. Bruce didn't move, didn't blink. His body remained relaxed in the chair, but Linda felt it the shift, like air pressure dropping before a storm. Like the split second before lightning strikes when the world holds its breath. Our situation, Bruce repeated, flat a statement requesting clarification. It didn't actually need. The manager straightened. I manage a respectable establishment. Our clientele expects a certain atmosphere. I'm sure you understand. I understand perfectly, Bruce said. And he did, understood the calculation. Understood that this man looked at Linda, beautiful, kind Linda who made Bruce laugh and challenged his thinking and stood beside him when standing was hard, and saw a problem. Saw something that disrupted his cafe's carefully cultivated image. Understood that this man looked at Bruce, a Chinese man who dared to marry across lines that were supposed to remain uncrossed, and felt entitled to judgment. Understood that this moment, this confrontation, this assault on his wife's dignity required response. The question was what kind. Bruce could stand, could walk away, could take Linda's hand and leave this place to its smallness, its prejudice, its comfortable certainty that the world was arranged correctly. That was the easy path, the safe path, the path that let this man sleep soundly, beliefs unchallenged, behavior unremarked, or remain. We'll stay, Bruce said quietly. And you'll serve us the same menu, the same service, the same respect you show everyone else here. The manager's face flushed. Anger, yes, but also something else. Surprise that this young Chinese man would dare, would push back, would refuse to absorb the insult and disappear. I don't think you understand. 3 seconds, Bruce interrupted. His voice hadn't risen, hadn't sharpened. If anything, it had become softer, more focused, the way a laser focuses light into something that can cut steel. Give me 3 seconds of your attention, actually listen, and I'll show you something that might change how you see the world. The manager's laugh was short, condescending. I hardly think. 3 seconds, Bruce repeated. That's all I'm asking. 3 seconds to demonstrate something. After that, if you still want us to leave, we'll go. But if I'm right, if what I show you in 3 seconds makes you reconsider, you'll apologize to my wife, you'll serve us properly, and you'll think about this moment every time you're tempted to judge someone based on what they look like, rather than who they are. The challenge hung in the air. Around them, other diners had started to notice. Conversations quieting, heads turning, the cafe's atmosphere shifting from oblivious comfort to aware attention. Witnesses, an audience, stakes raising with every passing second. The manager's jaw worked. He glanced around, seeing what Bruce had already calculated, that this moment was no longer private, that walking away now, backing down, would look weak, that his authority in his own establishment was being questioned publicly. Fine, he said, acid in his voice. 3 seconds, show me whatever ridiculous thing you think will change my mind, then you leave. Bruce stood. The movement was unhurried, controlled. He stepped away from the table, positioning himself in the narrow aisle between tables, giving space. The cafe was properly quiet now. Even the kitchen sound seemed muted. 20, maybe 25 people watching, waiting. Bruce looked at Linda, smiled. Not the smile he gave cameras or strangers, the real one. The one that said, I'm here, I've got this, trust me. Then he turned to the manager. I'm going to move, Bruce said simply. Just move. Watch what happens. 3 seconds, that's all. The manager crossed his arms, waiting, skeptical, ready to dismiss, to mock, to reassert control. Bruce's right hand hung relaxed at his side. Bennett moved. Not punched, not struck. Just moved. His hand became a blur. Forward, back, 6 times before human eyes could process individual motions. The sound came after, a sharp, staccato rhythm, like a playing card hitting spokes on a spinning wheel. Whip crack fast, impossibly precise. In the space between one breath and the next, Bruce's hand traced patterns in the air 12 inches from the manager's face. Never touched him. Never needed to. The displacement of air, the physical pressure wave of movement, that fast, that controlled brushed the manager's cheek. His carefully groomed mustache fluttered. His eyes, wide now, tracked nothing, because there was nothing to track. Just the aftermath. Just the realization. 3 seconds, maybe less. Bruce's hand returned to his side, relaxed, casual, as if nothing exceptional had occurred. The manager stood frozen. His arms had dropped to his sides. His mouth had opened slightly. Color had drained from his face, leaving him pale beneath his olive complexion. Because in those 3 seconds, his brain, his survival instinct, had performed rapid calculations. Distance, 12 inches. Speed, imperceptible to conscious vision. Control, absolute. Implication: if Bruce had wanted to hurt him, there would have been no defense. No reaction time. No possibility of protection. The manager's sense of safety, of authority, of physical dominance in his own space, all of it had evaporated like morning fog under direct sunlight. Bruce hadn't.